Imagine a place on Earth where over 2,000 natural sandstone arches rise from the desert floor. This is a density found nowhere else on the planet. This is Arches National Park in eastern Utah, a landscape sculpted by time, water, and subterranean forces. Just north of Moab, adjacent to the Colorado River, this park encompasses nearly 77,000 acres of high desert on the vast Colorado Plateau. It is a place where rock seems to defy gravity, balancing precariously or forming elegant windows to the sky. The story of these formations begins millions of years ago, hidden deep beneath the surface. A vast salt bed, thousands of feet thick in some places, lies beneath the park. This evaporite layer, part of the Paradox Basin, formed some 300 million years ago when an ancient sea advanced and retreated, leaving behind massive salt deposits. Over eons, this ancient salt bed was buried under immense pressure. Debris eroded from the rising Uncompahgre uplift piled on top. Then, around 200 million years ago, desert conditions set in, depositing the thick Navajo sandstone. Later, about 140 million years ago, the Entrada sandstone, formed by streams and wind, settled atop the Navajo layer. More than 5,000 feet of younger sediments accumulated, though most of that has since eroded away, leaving remnants like the Cretaceous Mancos Shale. Today, the salmon-colored Entrada sandstone, visible in distinct layers, is where most of the park's arches take shape. The weight of these overlying rock layers put tremendous pressure on the buried salt bed. The salt, under this immense force, began to liquefy and shift, pushing upwards in places to create salt domes. In this particular region, the salt movement formed unusual linear uplifts known as salt anticlines. This underground turmoil caused the brittle rock layers above to crack and fault. Whole sections dropped down between these uplifts, sometimes tilting dramatically. Look towards the visitor center, and you see the striking result of the Moab Fault, a massive displacement of 2,500 feet. As the subsurface salt movement contoured the land, erosion worked tirelessly on the surface. Wind and water stripped away the younger rock, exposing the Entrada and Navajo sandstone layers in classic layer cake fashion. Water seeped into the fractures, joints, and folds created by the uplift and faulting. When temperatures dropped, ice formed, expanding within the cracks, wedging the rock apart piece by piece. Wind carried away the loosened particles. What remained were long, freestanding walls of rock called fins. Wind and water continued their relentless assault on these fins. Rain, slightly acidic from carbon dioxide in the air, permeated the trapped sand between the vertical walls. This created carbonic acid, which slowly dissolved the calcium carbonate, cementing the sandstone together. Often, weaker rock layers at the base would dissolve first, creating openings. Gravity took over, causing pieces of the stronger layers above to calve off, widening the gap and eventually forming the arch shape. This process often focuses at points of intense fracturing or weak spots within the fin. While nearly all arches here are carved from Entrada sandstone, subtle differences exist based on the specific members of the formation. Vertical arches can form from slick rock members alone or in combination with Moab members, or when slick rock rests on dewy rock. Horizontal arches, or potholes, develop when a vertical pothole erosion meets a horizontal cave, creating a longer structure. These processes continue today. Arches will eventually collapse under the stress of ongoing erosion and natural forces, but the same forces are constantly carving new ones. This is a cycle set to continue for thousands of years. Despite its rugged appearance, this landscape is incredibly fragile. More than 1 million visitors arrive each year, placing stress on a delicate high-desert ecosystem. A key component of this system is the biological soil crust, a living layer composed of cyanobacteria, algae, fungi, and lichens, found in the dusty park areas. This crust binds soil particles together, making it more resistant to erosion and helping it absorb and retain scarce water. This is vital for other plant life in this arid environment. Foot traffic and other compressional forces easily damage this crust, and recovery in this dry climate is slow. The climate here reflects its high desert location. According to the Köppen system, the visitor center area experiences a cold, semi-arid climate. Summers are hot, with average highs often well above 90 degrees Fahrenheit, even reaching over 100 degrees. Winters are cold, with average lows below freezing. The park receives very little precipitation, averaging less than 10 inches of rain per year, much of that coming in brief, intense thunderstorms. Humans have a long history in this area, stretching back 10,000 years to the last ice age. The Fremont people and ancestral Puebloans inhabited the region until roughly 700 years ago, leaving behind traces like the Ute petroglyphs visible today. Spanish missionaries passed through in 1775, encountering the Ute and Paiute tribes. Later, European Americans attempted settlement, beginning with the Mormon Elk Mountain Mission in 1855, though they soon departed. Ranchers, farmers, and prospectors eventually established Moab in the late 1870s, and stories of the stunning rock formations began to spread. Word of the area's scenic beauty reached broader audiences. This was thanks to people like Frank A. Wadley, who was a passenger traffic manager for the Denver and Rio Grande Western Railroad. He was invited by Alexander Ringhofer, a local prospector. Ringhofer had found a scenic spot he called Devil's Garden, which is today known as Klondike Bluffs. Wadley visited in 1923. Impressed, he suggested to the National Park Service director that the area become a national monument. Others championed the idea. Lawrence Good, a geology student at the University of Michigan, was exploring the nearby La Salle Mountains. A local physician, Dr. J. W. Doc Williams, showed him the scenic area. Good also advocated for its protection. Park Service investigators examined the site, though initial confusion existed about the precise boundaries and names. Ironically, Ringhofer's original Devil's Garden discovery was initially left out, while a different area, known locally as the Windows, was included. The name Arches itself was suggested by Frank Pinkley, a superintendent of Southwestern National Monuments, after his 1925 visit to the Windows section. Despite Park Service support in 1926, the designation faced resistance from the Interior Secretary. Finally, in April 1929, shortly after taking office, President Herbert Hoover signed a proclamation establishing Arches National Monument. It was initially established as two small, unconnected sections. The goal, under the 1906 Antiquities Act, was to protect the geological features for their scientific and educational value. President Franklin D. Roosevelt enlarged the monument in 1938 to include more scenic features and allow for tourism facilities. A minor boundary change occurred under President Dwight Eisenhower in 1960. President Lyndon B. Johnson made a substantial enlargement just before leaving office in 1969. 2 years later, in 1971, President Richard Nixon signed legislation passed by Congress. This act actually reduced the park's total area, but elevated its status. Arches National Park was formally dedicated in May 1972. Maintaining the park's natural state includes protecting historical elements. In 1980, vandals damaged ancient Ute petroglyphs near the Delicate Arch Trail with an abrasive cleanser. Park officials brought in physicist John F. Asmusse, known for using lasers to restore art, who successfully used light pulses to remove most of the damage. In 2016, vandalism struck Frame Arch, where a section was carved out. With improved technology, the arch was repaired in 2018 using color matching and modern infilling techniques. This demonstrates ongoing efforts to preserve the park's features. Visiting Arches offers a range of recreational activities. Auto touring along the scenic drive provides access to many viewpoints. Hiking is popular, with trails ranging from easy walks to strenuous climbs. Bicycling is permitted on park roads. Camping is available at the Devil's Garden Campground, while backpacking and canyoneering require permits for backcountry areas. Rock climbing is allowed on certain features, but strictly regulated. Climbing on any named or unnamed arch with an opening larger than 3 feet is banned by park regulations. This rule was solidified in 2014 after previous wording proved difficult to enforce following a climb on Delicate Arch in 2006. Slacklining and BSE jumping are prohibited park-wide. Arches National Park has gained significant public recognition over the years. Delicate Arch, perhaps the most famous formation, was featured on the third quarter of 2014 as part of the America, the Beautiful Quarters program. That particular quarter had the highest production run of any state or national park quarter minted that year. The park also gained fame through American writer Edward Abbey, who served as a park ranger here in 1956 and 1957. His journals from that time formed the basis of his influential book, Desert Solitaire, which helped draw many visitors interested in adventure and the desert landscape to the area. Despite the arid conditions, the park is home to a surprising array of wildlife. Spadefoot toads and kangaroo rats are adapted to the desert ground. Antelope squirrels dart among the rocks. Birds include scrub jays, peregrine falcons, and various sparrows. Larger mammals like red foxes, mule deer, and desert bighorn sheep traverse the landscape, as do cougars. Reptiles such as collared lizards and midget-faded or western rattlesnakes also inhabit the area. The yucca moth plays a crucial role in pollinating the yucca plant. Plant life in the park is equally resilient. Common species include prickly pear cactus, various bunch grasses, and invasive cheatgrass. Utah juniper and pinyon pine dot the higher elevations. Shrubs like Mormon tea, blackbrush, cliffrose, and four-winged saltbrush are widespread. Delicate wildflowers like evening primrose and sand verbena bloom seasonally, alongside the striking yucca and sacred datura. Crucially, the biological soil crust, mentioned earlier, supports this plant diversity by helping the soil retain the minimal moisture it receives. Beyond the famous delicate arch, Arches boasts numerous other captivating features. Balanced rock stands like a teetering giant the size of 3 school buses. The Courthouse Towers area showcases towering stone columns. Devil's Garden offers a collection of arches and fins, including the impressive landscape arch, the park's longest with a span of 290 feet. Double Arch consists of 2 arches sharing a common base. The Fiery Furnace is a maze-like area of narrow passages. Features like the organ, the phallus, and the 3 gossips add distinctive shapes to the landscape. Each is a testament to the ongoing dance between rock and erosion.